Hello, I'm glad you're here. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, the Relationship Help Doctor. And I talk about getting along with difficult people or knowing when to leave difficult people or recognizing that you've been with difficult people or raised by them. And today I want to talk to you about 3 things that really make a huge difference that hijackals must do. They have to do it in order to survive. They don't know any different. This is what they have learned from a young age that they must do. They must behave in these ways in order to stay safe. It's not a conscious decision on their part. This is what they've learned. And so we can't expect them to do things differently. And believe me, they're not the least bit interested in doing things differently either. So you're the one who's going to have to do things differently. And yes, you're the one who's in charge of your life, so that makes sense. And don't spend 1 second beating yourself up after being with a hijackal, a toxic, difficult, often disturbing person. You couldn't have known, you couldn't have understood until the moment that you do. And whole bunches of people might have told you differently that, oh, yes, you could, or you could have done things differently, but you didn't. And you didn't listen. It was because you couldn't hear. So please don't spend a second beating yourself up or thinking, why didn't I listen? Not a moment of that. Let's just move forward. Now, because this is live, you can ask questions and I will answer them. So please do that. And if you're listening to the rebroadcast, I'm sure you'll find value in the questions that people ask if they ask them. And so I want to talk to you about these 3 very fundamental things that hijackals do, and the one big thing that you must do to counteract this. So let's talk about the hijackals for a moment. They found you, they wanted you because you are kind and compassionate and considerate and loving, and you'll go the extra mile and you'll make excuses and rationalizations and justifications for their bad behavior. They love that. They want you to do that. It gives them power over you. And so they're attracted to you if they think that you'll do that. There's another thing they're attracted to. Strangely enough, they're attracted to very strong people to see if they can break them, see if they can find the chink in their armor, their particular vulnerability, and then play on that. So it happens. So maybe it happened to you. Now what? So here's the big things you need to know. Hijackals need to be in charge. They absolutely need to be in charge. They don't know who they are when they're not being right and in control and blaming other people. And they have to maintain that sense of power. I've had situations with my clients, and I have clients all over the world, where a couple will come in, and I think of one where the woman was a very competent medical professional, and they had a new baby. And her husband treated her as though she didn't have a clue. Like she simply didn't know what to do with that baby, what to do with the house, how to maintain anything, how to do anything. And of course, that's ridiculous. This is a woman who holds life in her hands every day. And yet this man, her husband, treated her like he had to be her parent. He had to tell her what to do. So this is a big thing. They have to be in charge. They have to be in control. They have to be the one who knows. And they have to be the one who's right. Have you experienced that? I sure have. No, I didn't take it very well. How did you take it? I mean, I fought back. I just got angry. And I would then become, not combative in a physical sense, but like, that's crazy, I would say. You can't think that way. That doesn't make any sense. And of course, this is a very long time ago, happily enough, but it's just what we do. It's what we've been raised to do. They're doing what they're raised to do, what they know to do. We do what we know to do from the way we were raised. So this calls forth from us a whole new awareness, a whole new set of strategies, a whole new perspective, and decisions. So the number one thing that hijackals must do in order to survive is they must be in charge. And that's not great. That's just not great because there's no room for you. You see that? If they must be in charge, then what you think or what you need or what you want or what you believe or feel has very little meaning to them. I know you've experienced that. I certainly have. So number one, they must be in charge. And then number two is really nasty, because in order to keep that in controlness that they need, then number two is that they need to keep you in chaos and uncertainty. Now, you know, when you talk to a hijackal and they say, you know, we're going to do something, let's do this on Saturday, and they say, that's a good idea. That doesn't mean in anybody's book, if they're a hijackal, that Saturday is a go. That means, I want you to think we're going to do it on Saturday, but I'll decide on Saturday whether I'm going to do that. They love to keep that uncertainty. And you know, it's a very difficult thing, because you think you've got a plan. They think they've got leverage because you think they've got a plan. So this need to keep you in uncertainty and chaos. It also goes to the gaslighting piece. You know, they say something one day, the next day they say something completely different. And then you say, but yesterday you said this. Do they apologize? Do they recognize it? Of course not. What they say is, you don't listen very well. You just wanted to hear that. That's not what I said. What's wrong with you? Because they want to keep you in uncertainty. And gaslighting is that ability to define your reality for you, even though it's not the same one you experienced. So something happens, like I was giving that example. They said something yesterday. You say you said this yesterday. They paint another picture. They gaslight you. They say, no, I never said that. Or you must be delusional. Or, and that never happened. What's wrong with you? So anything to keep you in uncertainty, anything to keep you on edge. You know, that's why we call it walking on eggshells, because you never know what's going to happen. And that's the way they want it. They love that uncertainty, that ambiguity, that chaos. And you know very well, if you've had children, that when you're with a hijackal, those children are going to be disappointed just as you are repeatedly, because of this need to keep you in uncertainty. And that's just sad. I mean, that's just wrong on every level. It's sad. It's unreasonable. And yet, bit by bit, they do it. Now, mostly when you're with a hijackal, they turn on the charm and they get you. They seem like they're the best thing that ever happened to you, and slowly they erode. But you know, I've even had clients where between the wedding ceremony and the wedding night, everything changed on a dime. The hijackal came out. I know one couple who after the reception, the fellow picked a fight. They went to the bridal suite. The fellow picked a fight, and he went out and got drunk with his mates, and he didn't come back until the end of the second day. True hijackal behavior. And so that's a very important thing, keeping you in uncertainty, keeping you in ambiguity, keeping you in chaos. If you're always feeling like, do we, don't we, is that a plan? Can I count on that? That's hijackal behavior. So very important. And the number three big thing that I want to talk about today that hijackals do, they have to do it. They don't do it on purpose. They just do it because of who they are. And you need to recognize that, and that they have that need to find fault with you. For two reasons. Once it gives them control, but two, they can't possibly be wrong. So you must be. You know, they're contrary to how they look and behave, they're very fragile beings in the ego department. And so they can't even entertain the idea of being wrong. And they will not be held accountable for their behavior, but you know that already. So they have to find fault with you. And you just can't contribute enough, do enough, be good enough, be quiet enough, be loud enough, be anything enough in order to have them be pleased, except in those rare moments when they really want something or they're afraid you'll leave, and then they love bomb you. Then they come back and they're all over you. And you know, it's an incredible thing, but they're always finding fault. I had 2 or 3 clients who have actually been with hijackals during the divorce process, and the hijackal makes up trump charges and takes them to Child Protective Services. Yes, they're unsubstantiated claims. Yes, none of that happened, but that is that absolute frenzy to not be at fault. So they pile fault on their partner to make them look bad. No, it's not because they want the children. No, it's not because they love the children. It's because they need to win. They need to have that power and control. So number 3 is they always have to find fault with you. Now, you know that because you know how it feels. You never feel good enough. You never feel enough. They're always putting you down. Nothing you do is ever sufficient. Maybe you had a parent who was a hijackal. They're the ones that look at your report card that is all A's and a B, and they don't see the A's. They just say, what happened to the B? You know, you can't be good enough. That's dirty pool. That's not good, but that's hijackal behavior. So those 3 things, they must be in charge. They must keep you in uncertainty, and they must always find fault with you. Big red flags, big red hijackal flags. And so it's important for you to recognize them. So what can you do? Well, the very first thing is to really know deep down in your soul that you matter. And that being treated this way is simply not okay with you for a moment longer. Can you do that? Can you dig right down deep in your soul and say, I do not deserve to be treated this way, and I will not allow myself to be treated this way another minute? Now, there's no magic. Just because you said that, they're not going to stop. And you getting up on your back legs for a bit and telling them how it is not going to change it. You have to change it deep within yourself. And here's how you begin. You stop justifying, rationalizing, and making excuses for the hijackal's behavior. They are not having a bad day. It is the way they are. So the big thing that you must do is to stop justifying, rationalizing, and excusing their behavior. You must stop condoning their behavior. You must stop enabling their behavior, making it possible for them to continue. Now, that's not a big cutoff point in most cases. You know, when people come to me and they say, what should I do? I say, do your own work first if there's not physical or sexual abuse going on. Of course, if there's rampant physical or sexual abuse going on, you have to leave. But otherwise, don't. Do your own work first. Let's work together. Let's rearrange your thinking. Let's get strong strategies. Let's strengthen your values. Let's do all that you need to do to feel empowered and try out and practice your skills in this relationship to see what could happen. What change is possible, because many times there are changes that can make it tenable. Because remember, your children are watching you. You are the model for your children. When you start to empower yourself, your children begin to feel and see the difference, and you're teaching them different skills, a different approach, a different way of being. And you want to give that a shot first, because remember, if you leave a hijackal, chances are they're going to go for as much custody as they can, not because they love the kids, but they want to win. And so that means that those children are going to be with their hijackal alone without you around to hear and see what happens more. So you want to be very clear that you've done all you can to make this relationship possible before you leave. And there are degrees of hijackalness, so we need to talk about that. But it's so important that you understand that you matter, your children matter, and these traits, you need to see them clearly. No rose-colored glasses. It's really hard to see red flags when you're wearing rose-colored glasses. So whip those glasses off and say, if this person always has to be in charge, always keeps me in uncertainty, and always makes everything my fault, hijackal land. You can get my free ebook, How to Spot a Hijackal. Just go to hijackals.com. Easy to spell, hijackals.com. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. I really want to help you have a healthy, happy, functioning life in which you find joy. Talk soon.